What is going on? We are in the world of Pokemon. As you can see, we got the bike, we got the drip, and I actually wanted to share my thoughts on this game, give a bit of a review of it. I actually ended up liking this game a lot. Surprisingly, I mean, okay, I'm not gonna look at that. After looking at the reviews of this game and the user feedback, I didn't know what I was getting into. IGN gave the game a 9.3, which is pretty damn high, but again, you know, IGN ended up giving Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi like a 7 something. That game's like literally the worst game I ever played. And, you know, users in general, people who have been playing Pokemon for years, did not like the things that this game decided to do. But I think I'm going to go through those different points and those different topics in this video. But right now, I am going to kind of go in order of things that I've liked about the game. Kind of from the way it was exposed to me, and I think the biggest improvement, the coolest thing about this game, the thing that has the most replayability is the thing that I'm in right now, which is the wild area. And the wild area is basically just an area on the second town that you discover. So you discover this town in this area fairly early on, and it's just a big open area. So this is pretty much the first area you are exposed to. You come through the train not too long after you left your hometown, and you see this like really big cool area, and it definitely gives me a Dark Souls vibe because you can go even deeper into the wild area and go to a place you're not supposed to get to until, you know, way later in the game. They won't let you into Hammerlock. Hammerlock is like one of the last areas of the game, but the wild area before Hammerlock, it will let you, you know, go there and check stuff out, and the Pokemon are a lot higher level, and they're pretty much just going to one-shot you. We're talking about level 50 and up in this area here. But it's cool that the game at least lets you go there, at least lets you check it out and see different things. And it was interesting. I mean, I definitely was in the wild area for a good, I got to say, at least a day, maybe a day and a half before I even fought the first gym leader. I was in the wild area just slaying Pokemon and catching as many as I could. And I think, you know, hands down, it's one of the cooler things they've added to the game, and it'd be cool if they were to keep kind of that theme going, if not something that's as big or something that's exactly the same, at least something where it's kind of like a hub area, and it's something that allows you to kind of have fun and enjoy the area and get a bunch of Pokemon and whatnot. And another thing I like about this game is that this game is a lot more streamlined. They definitely were thinking about kind of the user experience as people play Pokemon. As you can see here, what you're looking at here is the middle is the Poke Center, the right is the Poke Shop, and then this, I don't know what the fuck this is, but this guy is basically the move deleter. He'll also help you in terms of like rating a nickname and changing nicknames. And I think it's smart that they did this because, you know, for example, in Fire Red, or I don't know about X and Y, I don't remember exactly, but in Fire Red, I know you had to go to some obscure town and fight some obscure guy who's the move deleter, whereas with this, every single Poke Center you go into, there's this guy who's like, hey, you want to look at the memories, which is just telling you when you got the Pokemon, when you caught it, which is a nice added piece of information. Remember a move, which you can remember a move from the past, or forget a move. If for some reason you taught your Pokemon in a TM or HM and you want to get rid of it, you talk to this guy and he can do it. And it's really cool that they added that. And the same thing is the addition of having a shop here, as opposed to just having, you know, some places have shops, some places have Poke Centers. You just put all three into one place, which is pretty cool because it, you know, this game, kind of the theme that I got from it, which is something that I kind of enjoy, is that it is a lot more streamlined. It is a lot more easy to enjoy the game and do certain things that you did in the past, but just a lot faster and a lot more convenient. You know, one thing that I do like a lot that they added to this game, and something that's really cool, is just the whole presence of Pokemon in the wild. As you can see, they spawn out in the overworld, and you actually can avoid them. So obviously I'm retarded and I walked into this guy, but I've never really found myself, I've only ever used a repel, I think, like one time, and it was like maybe in a cave to fucking dodge some Stunfisk. But compared to older Pokemon games, it is way easier to just avoid Pokemon and do whatever you want. Like, you could just literally look at what Pokemon you want to catch and catch it, and then there's some wild Pokemon that you cannot see. But for the most part, if you want to avoid Pokemon, it's fairly easy to avoid them. And if you want to play with Pokemon, it's fairly easy to play with them. And one thing that they also added that made the game a lot easier and a lot faster is just the whole concept of fast travel. So obviously in almost every Pokemon game, you can just fly to different places. But what's cool with this is that fairly early on in the game, you get something called a flying taxi, which is, just fly. So now you get fly a lot earlier in the game. It becomes fast travel. And not only that, you basically don't have to make your Pokemon into a TM slave. And the same is true for Surf. Surf you get fairly, not that early on, but it's not too late in the game. It's probably like 2/3 of the way through the game. That you get Surf, and Surf isn't, again, it's not the same exact Surf as it was in old Pokemon games. As you're about to see in Inomomanto, your bike just throws like fucking balloons on it and shit, and then you just get to ride on water, which is pretty cool. I mean, I guess it's a new addition, and it at least makes it so that you don't have to force a Pokemon to learn it, so it's not the worst thing ever. Another thing that I really, really like about the wild area, and it's pretty obviously one of the newer additions, is this raid mechanic where basically you have the option of joining people, which sometimes it works great, sometimes it works terrible. By the way, speaking of making the game a little bit more fast-paced, they added areas like this that, by the way, respawn, where you can just get a bunch of evolution stones. And this is pretty common throughout the game, where you get certain items fairly regularly that are important. So, shout out to Game Freak for, doing something right. Not everything's fucked. But yeah, like I was saying, probably the biggest part of this game is the addition of raids. And raids are basically what they sound like, where you can find these different raids in the wild, you can go up to them. If you have Switch Online, or if someone's with you locally, you can invite friends, and you basically can have 4 people come and play with you, and you can pretty much figure out fairly quickly that this adds a lot of time to the game. There's certain exploits and things you can do to kind of like get a certain Pokemon that you want. Certain Pokemon can spawn. For example, this area right here, Charizard can spawn here. It's a rare spawn, and it's something that if you do some exploit, you can get them faster than, just playing it over and over again. But nonetheless, it adds a lot of time to the game, and it does make it pretty fun. I mean, it is pretty fun, honestly, joining people online, or inviting people online, having them join and just playing with others. It's pretty cool, and obviously, you get to get the Pokemon that are in the den. So, now for the negatives of the game. There's, like I said, a lot of positives to the game. I played the story. For me, the story was very, basic. It wasn't terrible. I don't think that the story was terrible at all. But I never played a Pokemon game and thought about the story, you know what I mean? Like, the story has always been kind of meh, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't terrible, it was okay, there's some cliche things. To be honest, the ending was pretty good, and by the ending I mean the final rival battle that they have in the game. I liked it. It wasn't terrible, you know what I mean? It wasn't anything to write home about, but the story was alright. But, it's kind of like a not here nor there. I didn't really care that much about it. Now, for the negatives of the game, a lot of negatives stem from kind of the choices that the game developer made. Now, like I mentioned earlier, one thing that a lot of people didn't like, this is something that actually made people completely write off this game. They're like, I'm not gonna play it, which is them removing the global Pokedex. Now, what they usually do in Pokemon games is that they'll usually, at some point in time, I think in early 2020, this intention is open up Pokebank, Pokehome, whatever you want to call it. And it lets you bring whatever Pokemon you want back to this game, and you can, basically replay the game if you really want to, start it over, delete your save or whatever. Or just have the Pokemon on your team and just play with others with whatever Pokemon you want. But in this game, there's certain Pokemon that cannot be imported to the game. For example, one Pokemon that I kind of ended up missing was the King Rhino, aka your boy, Nidoking. Some Pokemon which have been rumored to come back but are currently not in the game are Blastoise and Ivysaur. I mean, they're in the game file, so the intention is for them to, I guess, come eventually as an event or something. But they're currently not in the game, and from my understanding, you can't import them as of yet. So this, in general, gave the Pokemon community a bad taste in their mouth. And really what it stemmed from was just a rushed development cycle, rushed decision to just push the game out for Christmas. I think this game could have really been a Pokemon game that... First of all, let me just say, this game is amazing. This is arguably... I haven't played it enough for me to say it's the best Pokemon game ever. For me, the best Pokemon game ever was Pokemon X and Y. But if I play this as much as Pokemon X and Y, I think it'll end up being the best Pokemon game just simply because of the fact of the wild area and the raid mechanic, because it is such a gigantic item that helps in endgame content, and it is fun. So that is something that's cool, but nonetheless, there's certain things that I don't like. Obviously, the Pokedex being, chopped down. It wasn't a gigantic negative for me, but you got to take points off that for rushing the game and leaving it out. Another thing that I did not like that they did was kind of fuck the online more than they needed to, and what I mean by that is they basically removed a lot of things that were super awesome in Pokemon X and Y and everything after that, and then just didn't give any type of a substitute. And the biggest one for me would have to be the online marketplace. If you didn't play the older Pokemon games from the past couple of years, they basically had a global marketplace where you could go in and you could see fucking Mewtwo, and you're like, holy shit, oh, I want that Mewtwo, and the person's asking for a Dialga. Trade your Dialga for Mewtwo. Boom. It's simple. They removed it from here more than likely because they rushed the release cycle. It's something they did in the past, but because it's on a Switch, the network's different. They just couldn't figure it out. Can they patch in the future? I don't know. But it really was fucking lazy, and they really could have done a better job with the online. As you can see, this is pretty much all the online functionality you have. Link trade, trade with a friend or a partner, or just some random fucking guess if you don't put a link code. Surprise trade, this is the same thing as the past with the Wonder Trade mechanic, which is kind of whatever. I mean, I've gotten a lot of cool Pokemon, but this has less to do with the developers and just more to do with the community. And another thing that is kind of dumb is that I don't play Link Battle a lot. Obviously, there's still the 2v2 versus. But if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if this is I'm pretty sure this is true because I've seen this online multiple times where they said they removed the versus recorder. So, like, after you're done with a match, you basically can't go back and rewatch a match. And I haven't even played in X and Y competitively that much. But there were a couple of matches that I recorded and saved and I liked, and it was pretty cool. So it kind of sucks that they removed it from here. Obviously, I have a capture card for the Switch, but even so, they should have left that in just as an option. I mean, they had it. Why not keep it? And then, in general, I'd have to say online is pretty shitty. Like, the online that they have is pretty dog shit. Like, for example, there's multiple times where the online has completely shit the bed and they had to go down for maintenance. And in general, it's kind of bad in the sense that, like, as you can see right here, all I have is, I caught a Pokemon. I'm online right now, and I'm like, fuck, what if I want to play a raid? I want to play a raid with a person. What if I want to, play with someone else? There's certain, like, random things you can do that can maybe, possibly reset it. And what I mean by that is there's, like, certain operations that you can do in the game. Like, some people, what they've done is that they'll go and they'll, like, do a Wonder Trade, or they'll go and do a Link Trade and cancel it. And then they'll pray for the online to get refreshed. As you can see, nothing happened for me. And then maybe, possibly, it'll refresh with different people that you can play with. Now, this is really dumb because, like, the online could be way fucking better and way more fun. But because of this kind of, like, shitty online interface... Okay, here you go. So, as you can see, now it updated. And all these different people are like, oh, please, come play with me. I want to fucking catch this Pokemon. And the problem with this is that you have like a 50-50 chance of joining because max 4 people can ever join. And 9 times out of 10 when you go to join, the shit is already like done or it's already filled up. Oh, I actually got in. Fuck it, I'll play it. Dude, this is that fucking rare. I'll fucking play it. I have no problem with that. I will fucking play it. Yeah, the online is pretty shitty. Another thing is when it comes to gameplay, I don't know if it'll happen here because there's obviously people joining. But when you play this by yourself, you have the option to play this by yourself. You get the most retarded dog shit NPC AI you've ever seen in your life. You'll get a fucking asshole Eevee that just does fucking helping hand and does no attacks. You'll get a fucking, a goddamn Magikarp that'll just do splash and do nothing. And the worst one is Solrock. Solrock can go fuck himself. He's just about a piece of shit. I don't even remember if that's a real Pokemon's name. I'm pretty sure that's the name. The asshole son who just sits there and does, oh my god, fucking cosmic power. They could have made it way better. They could have made it way less retarded. But they pretty much made it so that you're pretty much required to fucking get a full party. Because if you don't have a full party or close to a full party, you get retarded AI that really don't know what they're doing, and it makes the game not that fun, and the propensity for failure goes up significantly. Another thing that I think they could have done a better job on is just in general, kind of the lack of polish of this game is pretty... It's kind of readily apparent in terms of the way they did certain things. So, for example, as you can see, this Pokemon is Gigantamaxed, not Dynamaxed. So, there's a difference in this game between Gigantamax and Dynamax. Dynamax just means that you get bigger and you become more powerful, right? Gigantamax means that you become bigger and you assume a different form. So this Pokemon is Gigantamax because it looks different than the base Corviknight, right? And they decided to make the decision that only Pokemon that you get from raids like this will ever Gigantamax. Every other Pokemon were Dynamax. So Pokemon that you started off the game with, you start off with a Corviknight, or a Rookidee that goes into a Corviknight, he can never Gigantamax, but an asshole you get in the den can Gigantamax, where he looks cooler, they can unlock certain moves, etc., etc. Their IVs are probably better, and it's just kind of stupid. Like, they should have really let you, like, earn Gigantamax or something, because it left a lot of people kind of confused and wondering, like, why the fuck can't my Pokemon Gigantamax? And it's simply because of the fact that they cannot... What the fuck? That got me tight. That they cannot Gigantamax at all. You need to literally just fucking Dynamax or get a Pokemon from a den in order to Gigantamax. And that's this Centipede Pokemon, the Scorchipede. He's Gigantamax, which means this guy got it from a raid. Which is dumb. I feel like they should have at least given you an option to keep your original Pokemon and just earn that Gigantamax possibility, but they didn't. Another thing in terms of polish is that when you Gigantamax, every Pokemon kind of has the same move, and what I mean by that is, like, what moves you have doesn't really matter. So, like, when you Gigantamax, for example, and you're a fire Pokemon, all your fire moves will be called Max Flare. If you're a fighting type Pokemon, you have fighting moves, all of them will be Max Punch or whatever. There's no real diversity in, like, hey, if I Dynamax, my Ember will be shittier than my Flamethrower. It's considered the same thing. It's only out of battle when you're not Dynamax that your moves make difference, and your stat boosts don't, like, really apply anymore. So, like, for example, if you're a Score Bunny or a fucking, what's his name? Was it Pyroate? I don't even remember his name, dude. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna get to it, but the starters in this game are probably one of the least favorite starters in any Pokemon game in general. I mean, Black and White, in my opinion, was pretty bad, but this game kind of takes the cake, too, in terms of just lackluster starters. But Cinderace, he basically has a move that will up his speed when he does the fire attack, but when you Dynamax, it's just Max Flare. There's no special ability, there's no extra damage, there's no speed boost, it's just the same old, same old. And this is really lazy, to be honest. I feel like they could have done a better job in having a little bit more diversity. They really, 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 really took the easy way out when it comes to Dynamaxing Pokemon, because it's literally... For Dynamaxing, they get bigger, and the move changed slightly. They could have done a lot more with this feature. They should have just fucking kept Mega Evolutions in the game, in my opinion, because even with Dynamaxing, the favorite thing that people like are Gigantamaxing, because people just find these special Pokemon, and from there, want them to become bigger and also look cooler. So, essentially, Gigantamaxing and Mega Evolutions are the same exact fucking thing. It's just you took away a bunch of Mega Evolutions. Probably, to be honest, they probably would have kept that shit in if they had more development time. They probably were like, oh shit, what the fuck? Like, we have to do this too? They're like, oh, fuck it. We need some new gimmick. I don't know why. I don't know why they decided they needed a new gimmick when Mega Evolutions was kind of cool. It was basically an extra evolution. I have no clue why they got rid of that. Even before the game really started getting shit on, when I saw the first trailer and saw Dynamaxing as opposed to Mega Evolution, I was like, why the fuck did they get rid of that? So I feel like that's a big negative. This fucking guy actually left. So again, as you can see with raids, you're not guaranteed to catch the Pokemon, even if you use a fucking Ultra Ball. That's why I saved my Master Ball, by the way. And another thing that is a bit lazy, I have to say, in terms of, I guess general animation, is that, you know, for example, certain characters have certain moves where it's so fucking lazy, and this has been pointed out online a lot. For example, Score Bunny has Double Kick, And instead of the Pokemon actually moving its leg to kick, it just shakes, and then there's a fucking stomp animation, and it's like, you know, this isn't the fucking Game Boy Advance. Like, this is a fucking console. Like, they could have done a lot more. They could have made it more immersive and make it more cool. And I know they could do that because certain Pokemon actually do have that. Certain Pokemon actually do have kind of really cool moves that I don't know why they decided to not do it for all Pokemon. Have some Pokemon have really cool moves. Have some Pokemon have dog shit ugly moves. And by the way, this is something that is another kind of negative. And that's simply the fact that Game Freak, you know, they've been called out on this multiple times, is that they're just not great as a software company. They just don't do things as well as other companies in their size or with their money. And I'm assuming that they just don't have the budget, the resources, the knowledge, whatever, to just really just reuse certain things. And the reason why I even mention this is because, like, think about it. How hard is it to make one double kick look cool and then have that move be inherited by every other Pokemon? Like, I don't know what the fuck their software setup is, but I guess it isn't that, because not every Pokemon has cool animations, which would have been relatively simple if they just got one right, as opposed to, you know, playing around and fucking having some Pokemon look super cool and some Pokemon just doing the most basic shit ever. And another thing I would like to just say and bring up as something that I thought was, I don't know, I really, really, really felt it in this game as opposed to other games, is that this game is really fucking easy. It's really super easy. And when I say easy, obviously the raids add a level of difficulty. Obviously, certain wild Pokemon are hard to catch, or there's certain things that are difficult. But I'm really talking about the story mode. The story mode for this game is extremely fucking easy. I pretty much nuked every first gym encounter ever. Like, I never ever felt like I was gonna lose. Not even get close to losing. Like, I'm just using the same Pokemon and bodying everyone. If I'm going to a grass gym, I know that flying and fire is effective. I bring them out. At no point in time am I ever even close to fucking dying. See, dude, that's what I mean by certain animation. That's a fucking badass animation. So, like, the game was way easy. I mean, to be honest, this is probably another example of where I feel like this game could have been better in terms of game design. And that simply is the fact that they could have, you know, had, you know, bosses or gym leaders scale based on your level. Because there was a lot of times, because I was in the wild area for so long, I had, like, level 30 Pokemon fighting level 15, you know, gym leader. The first gym leader, he was, like, level 20, level 15, something like that. There was a level difference of at least 15, dude. Like, it was crazy. So I really feel like they could have paid attention to the game and realized, hey, you know what? We're giving people this freedom to go to the wild area. You could become level fucking 50 if you wanted to. Maybe we should make gym leaders scale. I feel like that's something that they should have taken into consideration, because I think the game was way too easy. I mean, obviously, this isn't necessarily a game that's, you know, Pokemon isn't known for its difficulty, but certainly with certain rival battles, you feel like you're going to lose. That's another thing. This game, they decided to have your rival, your quote-unquote rival hop, basically take a Pokemon that you're strong to. So if you pick Scorbunny, he's going to pick Grookey, and you're going to basically beat the shit out of him with your Pokemon. Whereas in every other Pokemon game ever, they pick the opposite, so it actually kind of feels like you have a rival. Whereas towards the end of the story, there's a champion in the game, and he basically picks the Pokemon that you're weak to. And that's supposed to be something where it's like, oh my god, fucking, he's my true rival, and he has a Pokemon that can nuke me. But then you get to the end of the game, and your Pokemon's so over-leveled, and you fucking, you know, did a couple of Wonder Trades and ended up getting Pokemon you're not supposed to have. And it ended up being a lot easier. But either way, it is a fun game. I liked it a lot. I thought it was good. You know, it wasn't terrible. Obviously, Pokemon isn't necessarily known for, you know, oh my god, the story was so touching. It's not like a traditional JRPG where, you know, the story has to be very long nor very good. But it was alright. It wasn't terrible. It was an okay story. It wasn't too bad. There was definitely some things like, for example, I mentioned the rival not being that great and kind of meh. I'd also mentioned that the enemies in this game were kind of meh. You know, Team Yell, not Team Rocket, not Team fucking whatever they were from Gen 3. Where they wanted to, or even Pokemon X and Y, like the enemies in that game, it's, you know, it's always been like a Team Rocket knockoff, but you'd at least hate those people and be like, oh, they're assholes. Whereas in this game, there's no real rival until the last like 20 minutes of the game, and you're like, okay, I'm supposed to hate this guy now, even though the entire game he was just some asshole who was just doing some things. So I feel like in terms of game design, I think this is one of the larger negative points I'd like to bring up in terms of the way they decide to go about doing the game, in terms of, you know, the story, way too easy, things didn't scale, they did not take into consideration the wild area, making people way too strong. They did not take into consideration people basically being able to body every single boss that this game could throw at them, because at a certain point, like once you get over level 60, you're pretty much Gucci against every boss. And I'd also think in terms of like kind of making the game faster and making the game easier, like obviously they did a pretty good job, but I also think they could have made it even easier and even better. So for example, there's certain things that I notice that I don't know if it's just me, I don't know if I'm missing something, but there's one thing that they added that was cool, and I like it, but it isn't the best, and that is this Pokédex. And right now it's not recommending anything at the moment, but at certain points in time it'll recommend, hey, go find this Pokemon in this area, and then you go catch Metapod because you saw him but you didn't catch him. But there's a couple problems with this. One is that now that the game is a lot more fast-paced, now that the game is a lot more, you know, free, they should have really let you catch any Pokemon at any point, or at least let you try. So, for example, in order to catch any Pokemon at any level, I think you have to beat the 7th gym leader, or just beat the game, one or the other. So, multiple points in the game, I'd be like, oh shit, is that a fucking a Goodra? Oh, I would like to try to catch them. And then you go to use a Pokeball, or even a Great Ball, or even at one point an Ultra Ball, and the game just goes, oh, they're too strong, they won't let the guard down, you cannot catch this Pokemon. And it's like, dude, like, just let me fucking catch them. Like every other Pokemon game ever, you could catch them, you won't be able to use them, but at least you can catch them. And it's pretty annoying for someone like me. I've played the game, I'm pretty deep into it, I've seen 347 Pokemon, but there's a good fucking, you know, 70 that I did not, no, 70 exactly, that I was not able to catch. Half of those probably because, you know, it's just in the story, you can't catch it, and the other half being that I encountered them when it was a lower level and I wasn't able to catch them. Now, in a game like this, where you're making a lot more fast pace, a lot easier to catch certain Pokemon, they should have really just said fuck it and said, hey, catch any Pokemon, at least try to catch any Pokemon, whereas in this game, they just straight up say, go fuck yourself, you're not allowed to catch this Pokemon until you beat this boss or this gym leader in order to be eligible to catch them. And I feel like that's really dumb. They should just let people do what they want, since they already kind of established a new layer of really kind of a lot more open world, a lot more freeform, a lot more possibilities to do certain things and have fun in different ways. And it's really dumb that Pokemon, a game that you're known for fucking catching Pokemon, didn't let you catch certain Pokemon until you sped run through the game. If I had known this, I probably would have beaten the game early and saved the wild area for later. But again, you get introduced to the wild area very early on, and it's really fun. It's kind of like a gigantic safari zone where you just walk around catching Pokemon. So I didn't really see a need to stop. I mean, if I could go back in time, maybe I'd beat the game so I could catch everything. But all in all, you know, those are kind of my complaints in terms of the game design, where it's kind of hypocritical to give people freedom, but then also not let you catch Pokemon. But with that being said, I think those are kind of like the main points I wanted to make in terms of this game. You know, I did list quite a few negatives. Some negatives were way bigger than others. I think the online is completely fucking disgusting, and I really wish it was better. Same thing with like the raid mechanic of NPCs. They should have made that way better so that you don't have to invite people online. It's fun playing with people online, but you don't always find someone online, so they should have at least made it possible to play raids online. Another thing that I didn't like is the whole ordeal of not being able to catch Pokemon, which is another gigantic one for me. But, you know, the Dexit thing where not all Pokemon are not in the game, I didn't really mind it too much because I'm not that hardcore of a fan, to be completely honest. You know, there's certain Pokemon I would have liked to bring in and play around with, yeah, but I don't know, I'm not that fed up about it at this point in time. I'm not like, holy shit, I wish I could bring him in. Maybe when I get to the point that I get the Pokebank, Pokehome, whatever the fuck it's called, and I'm like, oh, let me bring this Pokemon. Oh, you know who would go good with that? This guy. And then I can't bring him. Maybe I'll be salty. But at this point in time, that isn't a gigantic thing. So, for me personally, if I was going to give this game a rating in terms of enjoyability, I'd say for a Pokemon game, it's a strong 8.5. I would say teetering on a 9 almost. It does have a lot of things that are fucking annoying and really dumb, and the game could have been way better if they just updated certain things. But I'd say it's a solid 8.5 in my opinion. It's above average. It's a fun game. It has a lot of endgame content. I haven't even really gotten to the point where I was in X and Y, where I was doing the battle fucking arena or battle tower heavily. So there's something in the game that I didn't even bother to play yet. So there's definitely more to it. And I think that if the game keeps going and it's going the way it is, and they eventually add new raids where you can play online, they add, fucking, Blastoise as a fucking raid, and you get to play it kind of like something, if you see Destiny, or Destiny 2, something they do with like weekly raids or monthly raids, where they kind of have a longevity attached to the game. I think this game will go up to a 9, and maybe even fucking what IGN said it was, a 9.3, if they update it to that extent. But, there are some negatives in the game. There's definitely some things that, if not having all Pokemon is a gigantic thing, this could easily be a fucking 7.5 or a 7 even. And honestly, this could have been a fucking 10, keep it a buck, for a Pokemon game. This could have been a 10 if all the Pokemon were in the game, if Mega Evolutions were still in the game, if there wasn't as much, like, performance issue. Like, for example, when you go online, you fucking have... Oh, my God. You know what? Hold up. Let me just mention something. I didn't really want to say this because this is completely subjective, but I fucking hate how the starters look in this game. I really hate the water starter. I know a lot of people... I know fucking Kabuki was saying that he ain't that bad. But I look at this guy and I'm just thinking, why is his stomach, like, why is he shaped like fucking Ichabod Crane? Like, why does he look like Ichabod Crane in the face? Why does he have like a pot belly? Why does he have skinny weird arms? Why does he have like long fucking like weird legs? It just looks fucking weird, dude. It looks fucking weird. And the same thing is true for Cinderace, where... You know what? Let me talk about this guy, since this guy's here. This is probably the best evolution, the final evolution, in terms of the lot of them. This guy's kind of basic, you know what I mean? Like, he looks kind of cool. He's kind of like a Chespin 2.0, where he's a grass type, kind of bungy. He looks, he looks pretty basic, but pretty cool. I wouldn't necessarily be losing my mind over him. I wouldn't be like, oh my god, he's so cool. But out of the three, he's probably the best. And then the starter that I chose the Fire Starter. I usually choose the Fire Starter, to be honest. Except for the case of Pokemon X and Y. I decided to switch it up. I choose the Grass Starter. And then I was like, fuck, I wish I picked the Water Starter. This game, I really don't care. Like, all of them are ass, in my opinion. But let me see. Where is he? My Cinderace. He just looks weird, man. He just looks so fucking weird. And as you can see, I swapped him out for Charizard. I'm a fucking stan. I don't play Pokemon that heavy where I'm sick of Charizard. But yeah, Cinderace, he's very basic in my opinion. He looks like an asshole. They could have made him look way better, because his second evolution is probably my favorite evolution, the second form one, where he has like a cloak wrapped around his face. I feel like this final evolution is just kind of meh, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. He could have been way cooler, and he could have looked way better, and it could have went with the theme of what they had, but they decided to say fuck it. And let me just say, as another positive, I would say there are a lot of, there you go, that's pretty much the common thing online. There are a lot of very cool Pokemon in this game. There are a lot of really cool Pokemon. Unlike Black and White is probably one of the less favorite Pokemon games for me, just because I didn't like a lot of the Pokemon. I didn't like the starter. I did not like some of the Pokemon additions. So it was kind of like just across the board, not very interesting. And for me, I think new Pokemon are very important. So just to kind of give you my thoughts, just off the bat, I really like the legendaries in this game. I picked Sword, so I ended up getting this guy. Basically a cool-looking wolf. Not bad at all. And then the pseudo-legendary of this game, well, actually not my game, but Sword, whatever, I got him from trading, is your boy Dragapult. Very cool. Dragon, Ghost, cool combination. He has cool moves. He looks cool. I like the design. I think he looks cool. Same goes for some of the new types. So, for example, Obstagon looks pretty cool. He kind of looks like a weird punk fucking humanoid dog thing. So, in general, I do like the designs. Even on the the other legendary that you get, Eternatus. He's pretty cool. I don't think that's terrible. It's probably, out of the legendaries, I like him the least. Same thing goes for your boy, Grimmsnarl. He's another new Pokemon that looks pretty cool. And let me just say, when I first saw his baby form, Impidimp, in the fucking forest, that was pretty cool. That was, you know, they have certain things in this game that are pretty cool, and I do like. And he definitely is one of the cooler new Pokemons that's been added. So, again, this is a very good game. I think in general, as games go, if you don't like Pokemon, you probably won't like it, because Pokemon's Pokemon. But I think this was a very good game. I think it is worth the buy. I'm happy I bought it. I'm able to fucking play some more during this Thanksgiving break. And if you're interested in seeing my playthrough, it is on my second channel, Solve for Unknown. I'll put the link in the description. I had fun with this game, man. I don't regret buying it. I thought I was going to. It ended up being a lot more fun than I was expecting. It ended up being a lot more content that I was expecting. This wild area is a huge positive. And all in all, it's a good game. You know, obviously, some people are still salty. Some people post one cold Pokemon a day until the deck sits reverse on Reddit for updates. Good for you. But some of us are playing the game. Some of us are having fun. If there's too many negatives for you to not even bother checking this out, I'd recommend you just get it when it's on sale, dude. Like, if this shit goes on sale for like $30, cop it. Check it out. But until then, links in the description for the playthrough. 8.5, solid Pokemon game. I like it a lot. That's pretty much all there is to say.